Hey, what's up guys? Hardleg Joe here with what a deck profile for the Toadally Ice Barriers deck. Just going to go through everything in here and then I'll explain how it works. So for monsters, we're playing 3 Cryomancer of the Ice Barrier, 3 Dewdark of the Ice Barrier, 3 Swap Frog, 3 Prior of the Ice Barrier, 3 Ronin Toadin, 2 Dupe Frog, 3 Secret Guards of the Ice Barrier, and 2 Aqua Actress Tetra. For our spells, we're playing 3 Ties of the Brethren, 3 Medallion of the Ice Barrier, 3 Aquarium Stage, and 3 Wetlands. Our traps, 3 Quaking Mirror Force, and 3 Solemn Strike. As for the extra deck, we've got 1 each of Trishula, Crystal Wing, White Aura Whale, Gungnir, Black Rose, Coral Dragon, Brionic, Duloran, Amortrix, Old Entity Astur, Tatsunoko, Mistbird Colossalis, Paleozoic Amacalaris, and 2 Toadally Awesome. The side deck I'll go over in a moment. So this deck is a stun/lockdown deck that uses the combined forces of Frogs and Ice Barriers to stop your opponent from doing anything that they'd want to do. The Toadally part, of course, refers to Toadally Awesome. This is 2 level 2 Aqua monsters. Once during your standby phase, you can detach a material to special summon a frog from your deck. And once per turn during either player's turn, when your opponent activates a spell, trap, or monster effect, you can send 1 Aqua monster from your hand or face up from your field to the graveyard to negate that activation, destroy the card, and then set it on your side of the field. Also, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 water monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. Most people are already familiar with this card. I shouldn't have to explain too much about why it's so good, its negation abilities, its ability to swarm the field. And all the monsters we're playing are Aqua type. They're all level 2 except for the Tetrin, which we only play 2 of. So if you can get any 2 of these on the field, you can make Toadally Awesome. As for how to make him, there's several different ways. Probably the easiest way is just use Swap Frog. You can discard 1 water monster to special summon this card from your hand. So you discard any monster, special summon this, then normal summon anything, and you've got your Toadally Awesome. In addition, Swap Frog, you can once per turn send a level 2 or lower Aqua-type monster from your deck or your side of the field to the graveyard, which you can use to dump Ronin Toadin into the graveyard. If this card is in the graveyard, you can banish 1 other frog in your graveyard to special summon this, so you can get this, normal summon something, and then make your Toadally Awesome. Finally, we got Prior of the Ice Barrier. This is if you control a face-up Ice Barrier monster, you could special summon this card from your hand. You can't special summon any level 5 or higher monsters the turn you use this, but that's not important. The point is, if you get any of your Ice Barrier monsters, you can then special summon this from your hand, and there's your other level 2. In addition, you can also tribute Prior to target any Ice Barrier in the graveyard and special summon it, which is good for working with the other part of this deck. In addition to just stunning people out with Toadally Awesome, we've got a lot of things that really sort of lock down your opponent, make them unable to play. Probably the most important one is the Aquarium Stage. Water monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle with non-water monsters. And Aqua Actress monsters you control are unaffected by your opponent's monster effects. That second part not as important because we only play the 1 Aqua Actress. The important part is if you have this out, then none of your monsters are able to be destroyed by battle. Also, if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target an Aqua monster in your graveyard and special summon it, though you can't special summon anything other than Aqua for the rest of the turn. The 1 Aqua Actress we play, by the way, is just there to search the Aquarium card. Once per turn, you can add it from your deck to your hand. This works best with our final frog, Dupe Frog. While this card is face up on the field, your opponent cannot select another monster as an attack target. When this card is sent from the graveyard, you can add a frog, except itself, from your deck to your hand. But the main thing is just that your opponent has to attack this. So if you have Dupe Frog and you have Aquarium Stage, all your opponent can attack is Dupe Frog, and Dupe Frog's not destroyed unless they have a water monster too. So you got kind of a lock there. And of course, Dupe Frog you can summon with Toadally Awesome. And then we've just got the Ice Barrier monsters. We've got Cryomancer, says while you control another Ice Barrier, level 4 or higher monsters cannot declare an attack. Dewdark says if the only monsters you control are level 2 or lower, this card can attack your opponent directly. And Secret Guard says face-up Ice Barrier monsters you control cannot be targeted by the effects of your opponent's effect monsters. So putting these all together, your opponent's not going to be able to attack you with anything unless they have level 4 or lower or Ixie monsters. They're not going to be able to target your Ice Barriers with any of their monster effects, and you're going to be able to attack directly every turn for 1200. Even more if you get Wetlands as our field spell. All Aqua-type water level 2 or lower monsters gain 1200 attack. So Dewdark will be 24, attacking directly every turn. So 4 turns, you won. In addition, Cryomancer will be up to 25, all your frogs will be 22. It's pretty nice in general. Now the thing about the Ice Barriers is they're only really good if you have all of them on the field at once. To do that, we use Ties of the Brethren, pay 2,000 life points, target a level 4 or lower monster you control. For the rest of this turn, you can't special summon other monsters. But you special summon 2 monsters from your deck with the same type, attribute, and level as that monster, but with different names. You cannot conduct your battle phase this turn, but that doesn't really matter. All of these are level 2 Aqua monsters except the Aqua Actress, so if you get any of these, you can use Ties of the Brethren, make it so they can't attack, make it so you can't be targeted, make it so you can attack directly. If you already have some of these, you could put a dupe frog on the field, so make it so they can only attack that. You could put a swap frog in order to send more things in the graveyard. There's a lot of different combos you can do with that. In addition, Priory can help keep up your combos. If you already got one of these and another one's in the graveyard, you could special summon it, tribute, summon another one from the graveyard. Usually just having Cryomancer and Secret Guards by themselves is a pretty decent lock, depending on what your opponent is playing, obviously. Again, Ixie monsters don't really work with this. Another important thing to remember, Dewdark can only attack if the face-up monsters you control are level 2 or lower. So if you have an Ixie monster, that's a rank, it doesn't count. So you can't use his effect while you have Toad on the field. Normally what I'll do is attack with Dewdark first, then in the main phase 2 I'll use some shenanigans to bring out Toadally Awesome. During my opponent's turn, if they activate Dark Hole, Raigeki, something that can disrupt my plays, then I'll use Toadally Awesome's effect on itself, tribute itself to get off the field, stop them from doing things, and then you've cleared the field, you have all level 2s again. In addition, because it's got that last effect, that when it's sent to the graveyard, you could target a water monster in the graveyard and add it to your hand, you can cycle between these two infinitely. So once you get to your second one, you send the first one back to your extra deck so you can summon it out next turn. So every turn you're stunning, you're locking them down from being able to do anything, and just attacking them directly with Dewdark. If for some reason you can't attack, that's when we go into the extra deck. Cryomancer and Dewdark are both level 2 tuners, and while Ronin Tonin can't be used as synchro material, and you can't special summon Priory and then summon a level 5 or higher, you can use the rest of these. And you got quite a lot of things you can make, in particular White Aura Whale. If you get a whole bunch of stuff on here, this is sort of like a Mirror Force. When it's summoned, it destroys all of your opponent's attack position monsters. It can make 2 attacks, does piercing damage, and if it's destroyed, you can banish a water monster and special summon it again. Really good. Of course, you can also make Trishula if you happen to get one of your tuners, a bunch of level 2 monsters, and then your Aqua Actress. Although it's very rare, but it's always nice to break out Trishula in actual ice barriers. Likewise with Gungnir, Black Rose can blow up the field, Brionac. These are all, you can run pretty much whatever you want. The only things I'd really suggest, again, is the White Aura Whale, at least one Brionac because it works really well with the deck, and a Mistbird Colossalus. I've actually had this win me quite a few games. You can make it if you just have the one Tetrin and any of your tuners. Put a monster's attack to 0 because this doesn't have a lot of high attack, and then you can get over it if you need to get rid of it. The only other cards we have in here are just support. Medallion of the Ice Barrier will let you add 1 Ice Barrier from your deck to your hand, searches everything. Quaking Mirror Force is good because we're attacking directly, so just setting your opponent's monsters face down and attacking over them is an ideal situation. And then Solemn Strike to just shut down things. This doesn't really have any effect negation. You could just as easily switch this out for like a Twin Twisters or a Heavy Storm Duster if you wanted something to destroy spell traps, because we don't really have much of that either. As for the side deck, it's mostly other options. I originally had Terraforming in here, but Wetlands isn't too important, so you don't really need it. And then everything else is just sort of like other options for Ice Barriers. Ice Barriers actually have a lot of different combinations they can do with Ties of the Brethren. If you want to go with level 3 Aqua monsters, Defender of the Ice Barrier is pretty good. It's all monsters that your opponent controls with an attack higher than 1600 cannot attack, which is a much stronger lockdown than Cryomancer. Of course, he's the only Water Aqua level 3 Ice Barrier, so if you do that, then you have to summon other things. Drill Barnacle is pretty good because it can attack directly and it gains 1000 attack each turn, and with stuff like Aquarium Stage and this defending it, you can get a pretty good OTK going. You can also summon the Gradles, which are all level 3 Aqua Water monsters for just some added attack, as well as Gora Turtle, which, as long as this is on the field, monsters with attack of 1900 or more cannot declare an attack. So you can get a whole bunch of different things going. This guy as well, I forgot to mention. During either player's turn, if your opponent activates a spell, you contribute this card to negate the activation and destroy it. Not really good on its own, but again, if you're going to Ties of the Brethren and then get a bunch of, like, the Turtle, this, and then a Gradle, you're pretty decent. Likewise, we've got level 3 Spellcasters with the Ice Barriers. Warlock is basically anti-spell fragrance on legs. Both players must set spell cards before activating them and cannot activate them until the next turn. And you can summon that in addition to Geomancer, that's discard 1 card, declare an attribute. This card cannot be selected by attack target by monsters with the attribute. That's pretty good for getting things into the graveyard. And then, of course, if your opponent's playing a deck that's all one attribute, this can be really good. But it's kind of meh, depending on what you want to do. The Ice Barriers also have some level 4 strategists of the Ice Barriers. Once per turn, send an Ice Barrier from your hand to the graveyard to draw 1 card, which is pretty good draw power as well as setting up for some other things. Dance Princess, once per turn, if you control another Ice Barrier, you can reveal any number of Ice Barrier monsters in your hand, then select an equal number of spell traps that your opponent controls and return them to your hand. This is really good in combination with Warlock because they have to set everything, and then you can send them back to your hands. Likewise with Medium, this is not a Ties of the Brethren target, but if you're going for a more Ice Barrier-centric deck, it works pretty good. If your opponent controls 4 more cards than you do, you can special summon this. Your opponent can only activate 1 spell trap per turn. So they only get the 1 per turn, and they have to set them. And then finally, Guntala. Once per turn during your end phase, select an Ice Barrier in your graveyard and special summon it, which really works with all the things that you're discarding. If you played some things like that new Return to the Front, or even Call of the Haunted, a lot of these Ice Barriers get really neat effects if you have more than one of them. Oh, and I forgot this guy. This is Gendo the Ascetic Monk. Attack position monsters on the field can't activate their effects, and this defense position monster can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects. This is here because it's a level 4 water spellcaster, so if you're going with the Ties of the Brethren, Ice Barriers work with this. This is basically an entire other deck. I made another version of Ice Barriers. It's not quite as consistent, but if you want to take the frogs out, if you want to go for pure, cheap, unexpected Ice Barriers with weird techs, then you can side all this stuff in, make a different version of it. So there you go, there's your deck for this week. Hopefully you enjoy it. Ice Barriers are kind of this weird deck that is both underappreciated and also kind of a fan favorite at the same time. So hopefully you check out the full episode. I do 10 duels. You can see how that works out in the current game. Oh, and while I'm mentioning the current game, while I haven't played this in Link format, it does work very well in Link format, because you only really need to summon the 1 card from the extra deck, the Toadally Awesome, and then you just swap it out every time. Since you tributed itself, you can bring it back. So this is Link format ready. Pretty decent deck overall. Not the best, but it does work. So if you want to play Ice Barriers in 2017, there you go. Next week, no idea what I'm doing. So until then, good luck and have fun.